The silent resistance. The Craxian Imperium didn't conquer worlds. They collected them. Like rare specimens pinned to a board, thousands of civilizations hung suspended in their vast galactic web. For 3 centuries, no one had successfully resisted. The Craxians didn't need massive fleets or planet-destroying weapons. They had something far more effective: control. Commander Elise Chen stared at the holographic display showing the Craxian mothership approaching Earth orbit. It resembled a massive jellyfish, its translucent hull pulsing with eerie blue light, tendrils of energy trailing behind it. Beautiful in a terrifying way. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the weight crushing her chest. Lieutenant Marcus Reed didn't look up from his console. "Neural dampeners at maximum capacity, Commander. But they're scanning harder than we anticipated. The shield won't hold for more than 12 hours. 12 hours, half the time they planned for." Chen closed her eyes briefly, feeling the ship hum beneath her feet. Humanity's last, desperate gambit. The Defiant, a fitting name for their only hope. "And the weapon?" she asked. Dr. Nadia Silva entered the bridge, dark circles under her eyes evidence of sleepless nights. "It's ready. Theoretically." The word hung in the air. Theoretically. Everything about their plan was theoretical. No civilization had ever broken free of Craxian control. Once the neural network latched onto a species' consciousness, resistance became impossible. Not because of physical restraints, but because the very concept of freedom was erased from their minds. Billions of sentient beings across the galaxy now served as willing extensions of the Craxian hive, never realizing they were enslaved. Earth had one advantage. Forewarning. A damaged Craxian scout ship had crashed in the Atacama Desert 15 years ago. From its memory banks, humanity learned what was coming and began preparing. The Defiant wasn't impressive by conventional standards. A retrofitted cargo vessel, barely 300 meters long, with minimal weapons systems. But beneath its unremarkable hull lay humanity's greatest technological achievement: a quantum consciousness disruptor. A weapon designed not to destroy bodies, but to sever the neural links that bound minds to the Craxian network. "All personnel to secured stations," Chen announced over the ship-wide comm. "Activate stealth systems. Lieutenant Reed, plot a course through their defensive screen. We need to get within 500 meters of the mothership's central cortex." "That's suicide," Reed muttered, but his fingers were already dancing across the controls. "No," Chen corrected him. "It's our only chance." The Craxian scout ships patrolled Earth's orbit in perfect formation. Each vessel was biomechanical, part grown and part built, piloted by beings who once had their own civilizations, their own dreams. Now they were extensions of the Imperium's will. Chen studied their movement patterns as the Defiant slipped silently through the darkness of space, its experimental stealth field bending light and energy around the hull. "Incoming transmission," announced Communications Officer Yuki Tanaka. "They're broadcasting the first neural wave. Planetary impact in 3 minutes." On the main screen, they watched as the mothership's tendrils extended, spreading like a web over Earth's northern hemisphere. Soon those tendrils would pulse with psychic energy, and every human mind on the planet would begin to change. First would come blissful acceptance, then devotion, finally complete integration into the collective. "Commander," Dr. Silva's voice was tight. "We need to deploy the counter-broadcast now, or Earth won't have a chance." Chen nodded. "Activate planetary shield." Deep beneath the surface in bunkers across the world, the quantum disruptors they'd been secretly building for a decade hummed to life. They couldn't stop the Craxian signal, but they could buy time. Hours, maybe days, before Earth's population succumbed. A proximity alarm blared. "Patrol ship, 3 o'clock." Reed shouted. The sleek Craxian vessel turned toward them, its sensors probing the space where the Defiant hid. "They've detected us," Tanaka confirmed. Chen leaned forward. "Hold position. Do not engage." "They're powering weapons." Hold. The patrol ship fired, but the blast went wide, hitting empty space 100 meters to their port side. The Craxians couldn't see them clearly, just a disturbance in their sensors. They can't lock on, Chen said, but they know something's here. Launch countermeasures, then take us directly toward the mothership. Full thrust. They can't lock on, Chen said, but they know something's here. Launch countermeasures, then take us directly toward the mothership. Full thrust. Reed stared at her through the patrol screen. They'll track our engine signature. Exactly, Chen said. They'll be looking for us to run. They won't expect us to charge. The Defiant surged forward, rocketing past the startled patrol ship. Alarms wailed as more Craxian vessels turned to pursue, but Chen had studied their tactics. The Craxians relied on logic and efficiency, not imagination. They couldn't conceive of a suicide run. Distance to mothership, 15 kilometers in closing, Reed announced. On the tactical display, red dots representing Craxian ships converged behind them. Ahead loomed the massive mothership, its translucent surface rippling like living tissue. Chen felt sweat trickling down her back. Dr. Silva, prepare the disruptor for deployment. We'll have one shot at this. Silva nodded, her face pale. Commander, you should know. The disruptor works by creating a feedback loop in their neural network. It's going to cause unimaginable pain to every connected mind before it breaks the link. Chen met her gaze steadily. Including the enslaved species. Yes, billions of minds across thousands of worlds. They'll all feel it. The weight of that responsibility settled on Chen's shoulders, causing pain to countless innocent beings who had been absorbed into the Craxian collective. But the alternative was Earth's assimilation, and eventually the Craxians would consume every free mind in the galaxy. We continue as planned, Chen said firmly. The mothership grew larger on their view screen, its surface now close enough to see the intricate patterns flowing through its translucent hull. Data streams connecting millions of enslaved minds. Multiple weapons locks, Reed shouted. Incoming fire from all directions. Evasive maneuvers. Get us to the neural cortex, Chen ordered. The Defiant shuddered as energy blasts grazed their hull. Damage reports flooded in from all sections. Hull breach, Deck 3. Sealing bulkheads. Stealth systems failing. Chen gripped her command chair. Stay on course. How close to the target? 800 meters, Reed called out. 700. A massive blast rocked the ship, throwing crew members against bulkheads. Emergency lights flickered. Direct hit, Tanaka reported. Engine capacity at 40%. We only need to get a little closer, Chen said through gritted teeth. Dr. Silva, status of the disruptor. Silva's voice came through damaged speakers. Charged and ready. 500-meter range for maximum effectiveness. 600 meters to target, Reed announced. Another blast hit them, more devastating than the first. Chen was thrown to the floor, tasting blood as she pulled herself back to her station. Engine failure. We're drifting. She stared at the screen, watching as they continued to move toward the mothership, but too slowly. They'd fall short of the effective range. Reroute all power to forward thrusters, she ordered. Everything. Life support, shields, everything. Commander, that'll leave us completely exposed, Reed protested. Do it. The lights dimmed as power drained from all systems. The temperature began to plummet immediately. Chen could see her breath in the air. 550 to target, Reed counted down. 540. On the screen, Craxian patrol ships surrounded them, weapons powering up for a final salvo. Chen looked at Dr. Silva and nodded. Deploy on my mark. The Defiant crept forward, a wounded animal making its last lunge. 500 meters, Reed whispered. Now, Chen ordered. Dr. Silva pressed her palm against the activation panel. Disruptor deployed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a pulse of energy, invisible to the naked eye but registered on their sensors, expanded outward from the Defiant. When it touched the mothership, the effect was immediate. The massive vessel shuddered. Its translucent surface rippled violently, patterns of light inside accelerating to a chaotic frenzy. The tendrils extending toward Earth recoiled as if in pain. "It's working," Silva breathed. On all their screens, the Craxian ships surrounding them suddenly broke formation, moving erratically like insects exposed to poison. "The neural link is destabilizing," Silva explained, reading the data streaming across her tablet. "The feedback loop is spreading through their network." Chen watched as the mothership's rhythmic pulsing became irregular. How long until? A blinding flash erupted from the mothership, not an explosion, but a surge of pure energy. "Braced for impact," Chen shouted. The energy wave hit the Defiant like a tsunami, overloading systems and throwing the ship backward. Chen's world went white, then black. Breaking chains. Commander Chen regained consciousness to the sound of emergency sirens and the acrid smell of burned circuitry. Her head throbbed as she pulled herself up, surveying the damaged bridge. Crew members were picking themselves up, checking injuries, bringing systems back online. "Status report," she croaked. Reed, sporting a nasty gash above his left eye, turned from his partially functioning console. "We're alive, somehow. Main power at 20%. Life support stable." "The mothership?" "Still there," Reed said grimly. "Damaged but operational." "And?" He hesitated. "It's changing." Chen looked at the view screen. The Craxian vessel had lost its elegant, translucent quality. Now it looked dense, opaque, its surface hardening like cooling lava. The tendrils that had stretched toward Earth were withdrawing, coiling back into the main body. Dr. Silva limped onto the bridge, her arm in a makeshift sling. "The disruptor worked, but not completely. We've damaged their neural network, but they're adapting. Rerouting connections, bypassing damaged nodes." "How long before they recover?" Chen asked. "Hours, maybe less. They're resilient." Silva looked at her tablet, which displayed a simulation of the Craxian neural architecture. "But there's something else. Look at this." She handed the tablet to Chen, who studied the display. The Craxian network was indeed reconfiguring, but at its center, a spot deep within the mothership, a node pulsed with unusual intensity. "What am I looking at?" "I think it's their central processing core, the heart of their hive mind," Silva explained. "Our attack forced them to activate emergency protocols. They've concentrated their consciousness into a single protected node while they repair the network." Chen understood immediately. A vulnerability. Exactly. Hit that core with another disruptor pulse, and the entire system could collapse. Chen looked at the tactical display. The Craxian patrol ships had regrouped, forming a defensive perimeter around the mothership. Any chance of getting through that screen again? Reed shook his head. "Not with our engines in this state, and they won't fall for the same trick twice." "Then we need to get inside," Chen said. The statement hung in the air, its impossibility apparent to everyone. "Commander," Tanaka spoke up. "Before communications went down, I received a partial transmission from Earth Defense. The planetary shield is failing. They estimate 3 hours before complete neural infiltration begins. 3 hours to save humanity." Chen made her decision. "Dr. Silva, can you reconfigure the disruptor for a more focused application?" Silva considered. "You mean like a directed beam instead of a pulse?" "Theoretically, yes, but we'd need to be much closer to the target, practically touching it." "How about inside it?" Chen asked. Silva's eyes widened. "That would be optimal. But..." Lieutenant Reed, "Scan the mothership. Look for entry points, maintenance hatches, docking ports, anything." Reed worked his console. "There's a lot of damage on their ventral side. Several breaches large enough for a shuttle to pass through." "Good. Prepare our last functional shuttle." Chen turned to the crew. "I need 5 volunteers. This will be a one-way mission." She didn't have to wait long. Hands raised across the bridge. Reed, Silva, Tanaka, and 2 others. "Thank you," Chen said simply. "Let's move." The shuttle bay was partially depressurized, debris floating in the reduced gravity. Their last shuttle, a small craft designed for orbital transfers, waited with its hatch open. Dr. Silva loaded the reconfigured disruptor, now much smaller but, she promised, just as potent if delivered directly to the target. "The principle is the same," she explained as they boarded. "But instead of attacking the entire network, we're going after the control node. It's like hitting the brain instead of the nervous system." Reed took the pilot's seat, powering up the shuttle's engines. "How do we find this node once we're inside?" Silva held up a scanner. "It emits a specific quantum signature. This will lead us to it." Chen strapped herself in. "Once we reach the node, how long to deploy the disruptor?" 2 minutes to calibrate, 30 seconds to activate, and then... Silva met her gaze. "And then every Craxian connection across the galaxy breaks simultaneously." Chen nodded. "Launch." The shuttle shot from the Defiant, immediately going dark to minimize detection. They drifted toward the mothership, using minimal thrusters to guide their approach. "The patrol screen is focused on the Defiant," Reed noted. "They're not expecting a second attack." Through the viewport, Chen watched as the mothership grew larger, its damaged sections clearly visible, ragged holes torn in its once perfect hull, internal structures exposed. "Aim for that breach," she directed, pointing to a particularly large opening. Reed guided them carefully, using the mothership's own mass to shield them from the patrol ship's sensors. The shuttle slipped through the breach like a splinter entering flesh. Inside was unlike anything Chen had imagined. Not mechanical corridors or alien architecture, but something organic, pulsing channels lined with fibrous material, chambers that expanded and contracted like lungs. The shuttle's lights revealed surfaces that seemed half alive, covered in a network of vein-like conduits carrying luminescent fluid. "It's a biological-mechanical hybrid," Silva whispered, fascinated despite their dire situation. "The ship is partly alive." "Which way to the node?" Chen asked. Silva consulted her scanner. "Follow that central channel. The signal is strongest in that direction." Reed navigated carefully through the massive internal space. Occasionally they passed what appeared to be maintenance drones, insectoid machines that took no notice of them, focused on repairing damaged sections. "The Craxians are still disoriented," Silva observed. "Their internal security hasn't fully recovered." After 20 minutes of careful movement through the living vessel, Silva's scanner beeped urgently. "We're close. The node is just ahead, in that central chamber." They docked the shuttle against what appeared to be a membrane separating them from their target. Through its translucent surface, they could see a pulsing sphere of intense blue light, suspended in the center of a massive chamber. "That's it," Silva confirmed. "The core consciousness." Chen studied the membrane. "How do we get through?" Reed ran his hand along the surface. "It's responsive to pressure. Look." Where he pressed, the material dimpled and thinned. "I think we can cut through." Using laser cutters from their equipment packs, they carved an opening large enough to pass through. The membrane didn't bleed or resist. It simply parted, as if designed to allow access when needed. Chen went first, stepping into the chamber. Gravity was different here, lighter, almost dreamlike. The central sphere pulsed with hypnotic rhythm, tendrils of energy extending from it to connect with countless filaments that stretched away in all directions. The physical manifestation of their hive mind. Silva said in awe, floating toward it with the disruptor device clutched to her chest. "Every thought, every memory, every identity they've ever absorbed is processed through this node." As they approached, Chen felt a strange pressure in her head. Not painful, but insistent. Whispers at the edge of her consciousness. "They know we're here," she realized. "They're trying to connect with us." The others nodded, experiencing the same sensation. "Work quickly," Chen ordered. Silva began calibrating the disruptor, connecting sensors to the device, and taking readings from the node. This is fascinating. The node isn't just processing information, it's storing identities, billions of them compressed into quantum states. The enslaved species, Tanaka asked. Yes, but not just their neural patterns. Their sense of self, their memories, everything that makes them who they are. Chen felt the pressure in her mind increasing. Images flashed before her eyes. Alien worlds, strange beings, fragments of lives not her own. They're trying to distract us, she warned. Stay focused. A sound like distant thunder rumbled through the chamber. The membrane they'd cut through began to heal itself, edges creeping back together. Security protocols are reactivating, Reed warned. We don't have much time. Almost done, Silva said, fingers flying over the disruptor's controls. Calibration complete. Activating final sequence. The pressure in Chen's mind became painful. The whispers turned to screams, not threatening, but pleading, begging them to stop. Commander, Tanaka gasped, clutching her head. They're communicating. They're afraid. Chen hesitated. What are they saying? They're showing me destruction. If we break the network, many connected species won't survive the shock. Their minds are too integrated. Chen looked at the pulsing node, then back at her crew. How many? Millions, maybe billions, Tanaka whispered. The oldest connections, the deepest ones. They can't exist independently anymore. The weight of genocide pressed down on Chen's shoulders. This wasn't just about freeing Earth. It was about every species that had ever been absorbed into the collective. Some would be liberated, but others. Is there any other way? She asked Silva. The scientist stared at her device, then at the node. Maybe. The disruptor doesn't have to destroy the network. It could rewrite it, change the parameters. Meaning what? Instead of breaking the connections, we could transform them, make them voluntary rather than forced. Each connected mind would have the choice to remain or leave. Can you make that happen? Silva nodded slowly. I can try. But I'll need to interface directly with the node, and I don't know what that will do to me. Before Chen could respond, a section of the chamber wall dissolved. Craxian drones poured through, not the maintenance variety, but security constructs, armed and dangerous. Make your choice now, Chen ordered, drawing her weapon. We'll hold them off. Silva took a deep breath, then pressed her hands directly against the surface of the node. Her body went rigid, eyes rolling back. Chen and the others formed a defensive circle, firing at the approaching drones. They fell easily enough, but more kept coming. Whatever you're doing, hurry, Chen shouted. Silva didn't respond. She seemed in a trance, her hands now glowing with the same blue light as the node. The whispers in Chen's mind changed, becoming clearer, more structured. We understand now. We see what we have become. The drones suddenly froze, hovering in place. You offered choice where we demanded submission. This is new. The node's pulsing accelerated, its blue light shifting toward white. We accept this new parameter. A wave of energy burst from the node, rippling outward like the disruptor pulse had done before, but different, gentler, more controlled. It passed through Chen and her crew harmlessly. The drones dropped to the floor, inert. The whispers in their minds faded. Silva collapsed, Reed catching her before she hit the ground. Her eyes fluttered open. Did it work? From every direction, the massive mothership shuddered. Not violently, but like a body taking its first conscious breath. I think it did, Chen said softly. The journey back to Earth was silent. The Craxian patrol ships had withdrawn, forming a loose sphere around the mothership, which hummed motionless in space. The Defiant, badly damaged but still functioning, limped homeward with its small crew. Earth's defensive stations reported that the neural assault had ceased completely. Across the planet, people emerged from shelters, looking skyward with uncertainty rather than fear. As they approached Earth orbit, communications channels suddenly burst with activity. Not just from Earth, but from across the galaxy. Thousands of worlds, speaking in their own voices for the first time in centuries. "We're getting reports from other systems," Tanaka announced, wonder in her voice. "The Craxian ships everywhere have changed. They're not attacking. They're communicating." On the main screen, a transmission appeared, not in any human language, but somehow understandable to all of them. It showed a series of images, worlds rebuilding, species reclaiming their identities, Craxian technology being repurposed. "What does it mean?" Reed asked. Dr. Silva, still weak but conscious, smiled faintly. "It means we didn't just save Earth. We transformed an empire." Chen looked out at her home planet, blue and beautiful against the blackness of space. How many species chose to remain connected? "Many," Silva admitted, "but by choice now, not coercion. A network of equals rather than masters and slaves." As the Defiant descended through Earth's atmosphere, Chen thought about what they'd accomplished. Not destruction, but transformation. Not victory through superior firepower, but through offering a different way forward. The Craxian Imperium that had ruled the stars for centuries was gone. In its place, something new was emerging. Something that might, in time, become better than what came before. One small ship had changed the course of galactic history not through force of arms, but through the uniquely human capacity to imagine a different way forward. And in doing so, they had not only saved themselves, but billions of others across the cosmos. As they landed on Earth's surface, crowds cheered the return of the ship they'd thought lost. Chen smiled, exhausted but content. Not bad for a species the Craxians didn't even consider worth conquering properly. Reed laughed. Humanity's speciality, being consistently underestimated. The hatch opened, revealing a world forever changed. A world now part of something larger, yet still uniquely its own.